Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Bouk and Zoobie show on the world famous LIR.com, 927LIR.com, and YouTube. I am John Kalaboukas, the Bouk, with my friend Paul Zubulake. Zoobie. So it's our 100th episode.
Wow, congratulations. Milestone for Bouk and Zoobie, John. 100 episodes. We're very happy to make it to 100. We're very happy to see our audience slowly grind higher over time. And of course, we always appreciate everybody checking it out. But before we get to a little history of the Bouk and Zuby show, how we started, we wanted to kind of tell a story for kind of our newer listeners and watchers. There's only one thing to talk about right now, and we're going to do it as a rant of the week.
I usually say thanks, Paul, but I am so angry this evening about the firing of Tom Thibodeau. And how did I find out about this? My partner here, while I was driving down from Connecticut, I was on the highway, and the way I'm notified is actually on my car, it gives me a ding that, it's like ding, and I could actually listen to the uh,
The text.
the text.
Nice entry.
So, and the text that you sent to me is Dolan does it again or something along those
Dolan
lines.
strikes again.
Strikes again. And I'm saying to myself, okay, there's only one thing that idiot could do. And of course, what did I do? I'm usually a very safe driver, but I said, I gotta go to right away. I just put in Knicks on my phone, and I saw that Tom Thibodeau was fired. And Paul, I don't care what the reports say. I know you texted me later on that they say Leon Rose had something to do with this. He had nothing to do with this. Zero. Okay. Dolan is upset because the Knicks didn't make the finals and he probably thought that they were going to win. I don't think that the Knicks would have beaten Oklahoma City. But just think about, I have a list. I had to just write this out because listen to the coaches that we had before Tom Thibodeau and their records. Okay, from 2001 to 2004, and this is since Jeff Van Gundy resigned in
Okay,
2001. Okay, because that was
gotcha.
really the last decent coach that we had.
Right. Well, the
Imagine
last,
that
yeah,
24 years.
right. The last time they had a top team, let's face it, was
Correct,
that
correct,
far. Okay,
correct. So we had Don Chaney for 3 years, 72 wins, 112 losses.
that's
Herb
not good.
Williams coached for one game. Then you had Lenny Wilkens for 1 year, 40 and 41. We had Herb Williams back again. I don't know, finishing out the year for Lenny Wilkens or beginning the year. I don't. I forget, 16 wins, 27 losses. Then Larry Brown, which everyone thought was going to be the savior, he had probably the worst year of his career, 23 wins, 59 losses. Then we had, of all people, Isaiah Thomas. Who could forget this? That he actually was the coach and the GM for the Knicks for 3 years. And he was 59, 108. Mike D'Antoni, the man who was going to revive the offense, and it was the run and gun, made it through he got eliminated in the first round for 2 consecutive years. What was his record? 121, 167. Then we had Mike Woodson, who actually didn't do a bad job for the Knicks. I have to say, Mike Woodson, he was pretty good. 2012 to 2014, 109.79. That was the years of Carmelo. We
Right. That was
had,
their right. That
yeah, they had
last
a decent team. They made it
right.
to the semifinals where
Right.
they got eliminated by the Pacers. But then I don't even want to read these records because they were just so awful. These coaches. You had Derek Fisher, Kurt Rambis, Jeff Hornacek, David Fisdale, which by far the worst record, 21-83. He only won 20% of his games. Okay, this guy was 2018-19. Then you had Mike Miller, who just lasted, what, 44 games? And then
Interim,
we
yeah.
got Tom Thibodeau from 2020 to 2025. And what did he do? He got us into the playoffs 4 out of those 5 years. And each year, they progressed. Each year. So now that we fell short, and it, look, anyone can place blame on anything that anyone did, but it all comes down to the players. I'm sorry. Uh, we saw the biggest choke ever. I have never seen a bigger choke than that first game of this playoff
And it
series.
cost them.
And it cost them. It cost them. It would have been seventh game at Madison Square Garden. But how is this his fault that they lost that game when you're up? What was it? 14 points with 2.5 to go, and even 9 points with a minute to go. He called timeout. What were they doing? I mean, just I am just really sad. And the funny thing is, just to show how crazy it is, they just gave him a 3-year extension. I mean, this year was the final year of his contract before his extension kicks in. So guess what? They owe the man $30 million now. 30 million. Who are you going to get as a coach now?
That's
What
the other right.
the infamous Johnny Bryant that all of a sudden he's the hot ticket here? This guy that what coached with Thibodeau for a couple of years, then he uh, where did he go? Cleveland he went
Cleveland.
to.
He was with Cleveland the last year,
Right,
and he was with the Knicks before that. He's
right.
a younger guy. He may be a good coach, but yeah, but the reality is this franchise is on the precipice of going to a championship, as you mentioned, progressing every year. And I mean, we'll get into the series because our show now is every other week, so the last time we spoke was just really about beating Boston, and we hadn't even started this series. And from the colossal choke in Game One to the again the bitter end, losing in Indiana. So as you already said, this was a series that even though teams did win on the road, um, it's funny at the tail end of the series, it looked a wholly different story, right? Game
Yep,
five, Indiana didn't even show up.
yep.
That's a very weird that game. John just stunned me that Tyrese Halliburton decided to take the night off, but they were lucky enough to win in Game Six and give them credit. The Pacers played really well. As I told you during the end of the Knicks season, I was just saying, I mean, Oklahoma City had to be just sitting back and watching the quality of ball that was being played. And I mean, the officials have a lot to do with this.
Oh,
But
please.
I mean, I'm sorry. I cannot see how AOKC loses to the Pacers, John. So
No,
I know,
there's no
we
way.
could talk about predictions later, but
The like I said, the Knicks, okay, they were so close to the finals. Okay, we haven't even come near tasting the
right.
finals.
25 years.
Actually, 26 years
Okay,
is
26.
26 years of going to the finals. 25 years of actually being in the Eastern Conference
East, right,
Finals.
correct. Yes.
So, I
Uh,
mean, if you told me that okay, we fired Tom Thibodeau because we were going to get another coach, let's say Spolstra. Then I say, okay, you know what? I'll
yeah,
make that trade. I'm okay with that. But
right.
when you're telling, or even Jeff Van Gundy, if he wanted to come back,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that too. All right. But don't tell me Johnny Bryant, that Danny Hurley. I'm hearing this crap. Jay Wright, Mike Malone, who was fired from Denver. Yeah, I mean, come on, man. Are you really serious? Are they
Well,
really serious?
And then the other name that's up there, I saw the odds, was Kenny Atkinson from Cleveland. Was actually the second choice, the second favorite. Pat Bryant is the favorite, folks. Johnny Bryant, who most of our people watching the show are like, who is this guy? Is actually the betting odds favorite. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. And it's crazy because what Phoenix supposedly has him down to the last two.
That's
I
right.
quickly listened to something about what was going on with Phoenix. It seems like they're leaning to the other candidate, so that Brian's not going to get that job. We'll just see how it plays out. But yeah, Leon Rose, as I mean, he's got a bullseye on him now, John.
Yes, he
And
does.
the way they operate is they don't talk to the media. Leon Rose does not talk to the media. So
Yep.
Dolan can leak out whatever he wants to say that he had nothing to do with this. He obviously approved it in the end. So yeah, a kind of like a basic sore loser mentality. Not to run it back for at least another season, especially if they're going
Right.
to run back this team. Because I mean, I don't know if you want to jump right into it, and that was a great rant. And we're going to talk a lot. We're going to talk a lot of Knicks, and then we're going to talk a little history of our show, and then we'll get to the other sports. So I definitely want to talk more about the series. This is a shock. We got lucky, right? We're talking on June 3rd,
Right.
Tuesday, and it
Yep.
happened. So we're lucky we didn't do it the show last night, John, where we
Oh
would have
yeah.
missed this whole thing. Because it is really just one of these decisions. It's really a head scratcher. But I will say, when I was watching this series, I definitely had some heads. I thought Thibodeau, and we've been kind of talking about this on our show, at his inability to get his bench to contribute was frustrating me as a fan. So I'm looking at this, John, as that the front office, and we're just going to throw Dolan and Rose together, right? Let's put them together.
Yeah.
Is that they were frustrated with what the way it played out with the team, the players on the court, because they made that big move to bring in Carl Anthony Towns. And what that trade created, in my opinion, was that the Knicks' two best offensive players, himself and Jalen Brunson, guess what? Also happened to be their two worst defensive players.
Correct.
And this series showed it. And the way, I mean, I just don't get the strategy of keeping Josh Hart off the court and giving him less minutes. If the move, that was the move he came up with to start Robinson with Towns, which by the way, we both kind of liked them playing together,
Yeah.
but not at the expense of Josh Hart. That guy brings the intangibles which they seemed to have lost by having him come off the bench. What's your view on that one?
Yeah. I think that I think Josh Hart just had a bad series. I think he would even admit that he when he was on the court, he wasn't really the Josh Hart that we saw during the season at
But
all.
even in the series before that, he had a
Yeah, no,
great.
no,
He,
it was
so
it was
why was he the guy to
I I
lose the minutes?
I think it was the matchups because whoever I was watching him during this series, he had a hard time defending in this series because the guys are bigger than him and
All right.
they were backing him down. Uh, he it was I think he was just overmatched in this series. But the problem is I like Josh Hart. I want him on the court. I like his energy. I like that he's scrappy, he gets in there for the rebounds. He's always but defensively, he was having a big problem in this series. And I have to agree with some of the players they were talking about. It's the defense. How many times did we see in this series when these guys were doing backdoor plays? I mean, they were making the same mistakes over and over again. Double teaming, chuck it out to the guy in the corner, 3-pointer. I mean, that was the most frustrating thing to me is you didn't learn anything from even game one. You
Well,
know,
they had
you can't leave these guys wide open and expect them not to hit the three because they're the best shooting 3-point team. I've been saying it all series.
No,
So
I get what you're saying, and obviously defending is a huge part of beating a good team. They have to defend better, but they don't. The way their roster is set up, like I said, they have to play these guys for offensive reasons, and it hurts defensively.
yes, correct.
So that's
Well,
my
I liked
that's
it. I liked when, it might have been a little bit too late here, but I liked when they brought in Wright. Wright played really excellent defense,
But he can't
and
shoot, John. He
I
missed
know,
two open
I
threes.
know, I
And the
know, I
thing
know,
is,
I know.
I mean, Shamet can at least make a shot. Wright can't shoot. And the
No,
way the NBA is played now, because they play the rotation defense, switching constantly, and if you're moving the ball, but if you pass it to a guy, and Hart is also, let's face it, is not a great shooter either.
no, he's not. He's
But
not.
if that can't be the strategy. So I understand what you're saying defensively. It gave him a spark. And at least, like I said, Shamit actually could make a shot. But I think just going back to the Josh Hart thing, if that's my strategy, is to get my kind of my top intangible guy less minutes. I just don't see that as a good solution. So
No,
that's my argument about making any change, because as good as Robinson played, I mean, ultimately his best role for the team is to back up Towns, and then maybe 10 minutes of crossover where they're playing together, where
right.
maybe Anunoby's not on the court. Or maybe Jalen Bridges should have been the guy that was off the court instead of Hart. So I don't know. That's like the one thing that I would question. So that's what I'm thinking is like the owner and the GM were watching this and we're frustrated about this was the solution. So I mean, I disagree, obviously,
Well,
with the
another
firing. I'm
guy.
totally against it, but I could get where they came from.
Well, the thing was, even when uh, Towns was getting into foul trouble.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
you had guys on the bench that could come off the bench and do the job. I mean, it's funny that you remember Huck Porty, that how well he was playing before he got hurt. He
I'm
was
sorry,
that,
who?
that
Who?
Huck Porty. He's the
Oh,
Colt
oh, okay. He played a
center.
little. Okay. All right.
Right. They ended up getting rid of Sims
Right, right. Okay.
because he was playing so, and then of course, they gave him a start, or he came in and then he ended up hurting himself. You didn't see him come in. That guy's a defensive specialist.
Well, he
Why
didn't
he
get any
didn't use?
minutes. He
Huh?
wasn't even
No,
playing a
yeah, no,
Chua. He doesn't even play a Chua, no less him. So
he didn't play Achua, yeah. Which
he doesn't
Achua,
play him.
I was surprised with Achua not playing in this series much at all. But listen, as far as I'm concerned, you got to look at the overall picture.
Yes.
He's done a great job. His team's always played hard. Not that they played together. I mean, again, you got to remember they brought in Bridges and they brought in Towns. Bridges did not have a good year. He started playing a little bit better uh, in the playoffs, but is he worth five number one picks? Uh, you
Well,
know,
that's Rose's trade, and Cat is Rose's trade. So
yeah,
that's why the frustration comes. Is like I brought these guys in to win a championship, and even though we did better, were we ultimately a better team? Because last year's team really got hurt by injury
right.
more than
That's right.
anything.
That's right.
So I mean, Hartenstein, DiVincenzo, and Randall on this team minus Cat and Bridges. I mean, there's an argument there, John, that the
Yeah,
standing pat, they got screwed with the Hartenstein thing where they couldn't re-sign him, and if
yeah,
that guy wins the championship, so you'll be seeing a lot of him starting this week.
yeah.
But yeah, just
Tonight,
a
is it
really
tonight they start? Don't they
what was that?
start tonight?
No, I think it's
Thursday?
like I think it's Thursday. Yeah, I think the
Thursday.
hockey starts. Actually, I think the hockey starts tomorrow, and the basketball NBA starts Thursday. Yeah, so I mean, I'm totally against the firing, of course, because like you said, the number one problem is who's going to replace him. It's not like Holtz, Spolster would be obviously the most obvious name to throw out there. I mean, they're throwing like Budenholzer out there, and that's another name, and it's just a really and to give a first time coach. That's a lot of pressure where you're expected to go to the championship game.
I
There's
mean,
only
look,
one way to go, right? They could have a hard fall from here, John.
yeah, and you just look at the way Thibodeau. If you want a young guy as your coach, look how Thibodeau outcoached Missoula in the Celtics. I mean, totally outcoached that guy. Meanwhile, he won the championship last year, but that I mean, Thibodeau just totally outcoached him in that series. So you're
Well,
gonna
would you
tell
say
me,
Carlisle outcoached him? I mean, you definitely could argue that, right? You got outcoached by Carlisle.
uh, I don't know about that. I just think that th- it's the players. I just think it's the players.
Well, you
I
can't
mean, because
say
they're not recognizing.
okay.
They're just not recognizing. I mean, when you see the same play run over and over and over again, and you don't, and I'm sure that he spoke to them about it. They ran through it in practice, and then you have Towns. It looks like he doesn't have a clue
He's a
where
bad
he's supposed to
defender.
be on defense.
He's a poor defender, and let's face it, Brunson is as well. And they've gotten into this horrible habit of picking up cheap fouls where there were numerous games, right? But between him, Hart, and Brunson, they were in foul trouble a lot. In the NBA, where you get 6 fouls, there's just no excuse for being in foul trouble in the NBA. None.
And you've heard me complain because I like Brunson, but he was a big ball hog in this series too. How about passing it off to some of your players constantly, one on one, and
Well,
getting stripped? And man, it was just so frustrating this series.
he gives us and he takes it away.
Yes,
Let's
he
face.
does.
I
Yes, he
mean,
does.
some games he's unstoppable. He is a ball dominant player, right? No doubt about it. But that's what they're running out, and that's what their team is. I mean, where do they go for changes? Like, what is? I mean, actually, I don't know if you know, not to put you on the spot, but what is the contractual situation like with Josh Hart? Is he signed long term?
Yeah,
I know, obviously.
yeah. Josh
Okay.
has, I think, two. I think Josh has 2 more years.
All right, and then
Towns has 2 more. He has a year, but he has an option, which I'm sure he's going to pick up because it's at $63 million, which is outrageous. Um, the only one that
OG's back. He's obviously back.
OG is
Bridges is
back.
back, right?
Bridges has another year, and then he's due for a new contract.
All right. So the way it sounds, the core is coming back,
Yes, the core's
and
coming
and
back.
and Robinson also is back.
Correct. That's correct. He has, I
So
think, I believe he has 2 years left.
okay.
So really, what's on your bench? Shamet is unrestricted. Achu is unrestricted. Um, this guy Huck Porty, they're probably going to pick up his contract because it's, I think, like for 1,000,000, 8,000,000, 9, which is very cheap. Tyler Kolek. Um, Delonte Wright's unrestricted. So, I mean,
Yeah. Well, that's the fringe part of the roster. I'm talking about the
right.
core. The core is
Yeah,
back.
the core.
The
Core's
core is
back.
back.
McBride, they have 2 more years.
So he's back.
Yeah,
He's hot and cold. It's hey, they got beat. What can you say? I mean,
they got beat.
they choked
They
away
got beat.
game one. They put themselves in a terrible position. They fought back. Uh, Obviously,
Even
if they
game
got
two,
back to
even game two, even game
yeah,
two,
they could
they
have had
had
it. They
it.
could have won it.
Yeah,
Sure, sure. So when they came back, had a great game. That crazy game three, when they were down by 20.
yeah,
So yeah, for the Nick fan to complain, and I think most things that I read, most Nick fans were excited how well they did. It wasn't like a doomsday feeling
right,
that,
right.
and I think most people saw OKC as the better team either way. So I don't think there was this huge doomsday scenario, unlike some teams we'll get to later in the show, that if they don't win this year, there could be some doomsday feeling. But so yeah, just a shocking development with the Knicks. We'll be on our next show in a couple weeks, or yeah, actually, who knows with that because John Zuby's going on vacation. That's all I can tell you.
Well, at least you'll have a good time on your vacation.
Yeah, so getting away from the United States, I'll be in Europe for a while, a couple, yeah, well, 10 days. Bouk and Zoobie, we may have a guest host 1 week. So, we want to be on every other week in the non-football season. Because John, we have spent a lot of 2025 trying to figure out the YouTube algorithm. So, as always, folks, thank you for checking out our content. Please subscribe to the channel on YouTube, like the episodes. Feel free to drop some comments. If you actually have questions for us, please do. If you got an opinion about the Knicks firing Tibbs, throw it in there. Same thing with our other platform, or our other platforms, I should say, Spotify.com. Same thing. Subscribe to the channel, like the episodes. When you subscribe, you get the automated download. That's a key. And of course, John, and this is a good segue into kind of the history of the show and how it all started. The world famous LIR.com and 927LIR.com, the Bouk and Zuby show. They have been supporting us from day one, all 100 episodes. So, John, you want to like kind of tell the fans out there how the heck did this thing start? And I think it's an interesting story. So I'm going to let you tell it from your perspective because, John, let's face it, there is no Bouk and Zuby without Bouk.
Or without Zuby,
Well,
too.
Zuby, our producer, the other Zuby, that is another factor, very
Yeah,
important.
that's true. That's
Our
true too.
longtime producer, who
That's true too.
still lives with
Um,
his old man, so that's why he has to keep producing our great show. But anyway, why don't you tell the story?
no, I mean, listen, for those of you who do not know the history of this show, Paul and I have been friends since seventh grade. So we're talking about, whew, this is a lot of years, man.
That's yeah,
40,
it's like
47, about 47, 48 years. And Paul and I went to different elementary schools and on Long Island, in Mineola, Long Island, and we came together in a middle school. And he happened to be the only person that was as optimistic as I was every year with the losing Mets during those years. We were the only ones that could talk to each other, and and everyone else was a Yankee fan and just making fun of us all the time. And, rightly so, because they were terrible during those years. But, but our love for talking about sports started that time. We used to call each other, there was such a thing as calling your friend on the phone and actually talking to him, or talking in school about it, not texting or anything like that. Uh, we were fortunate enough that at that time we were able, once we got into high school, that they used to have Nick tickets where you could go and see the Knicks. And we saw some really good games, good teams for $3 a game in the blue section, and go on the Long Island Railroad for $1.75. So for under $5, we were able to see Knick games. And unlike today, where everyone's concerned about safety, we went with a couple of friends, and just went to the Knick games, and we had a great time. But again, this is how we grew up. We grew up with the Mets, the Knicks, the Jets, the hockey teams, Rangers, Islanders. So it was just nonstop talking about sports year round.
We were
Uh,
lucky because the New York tri-state area, John, has multiple teams in every sport. So if you're
right?
a sports geek like we were, it's all year round, nonstop. And there's rivalries on top of it. Who can forget those Ranger Islander rivalries back in
Yeah.
those days where, half of us were Ranger fans and half of the other guys were Islander fans. And that's when the Islanders were winning all their cups. So yeah, there's been a lot of losing going on, John, but we still kind of kept it together.
Yeah, and again, every year, like I said, we're battered and beaten right now. But every year from those times, we were always somewhat optimistic about our teams. And like I said, we continued talking about sports as, as single men, then married men, then fathers. And so we've been doing this for a very, very long time. And there was an opportunity that came up where the creator or the new owner of LIR asked me one night, he was talking to me about the station, and he says, you know, would you like to, try to do something about sports? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And he says, do you have anyone in mind? I said, sure, I have someone in mind. So we put together our first tape, which I still have. I call it tape. Our first go-to meeting,
Right.
where we just the way we do this now. We just, you know, prepared very little and just spoke about sports for the week. And he loved it so much, and the other people at the station, that they said, okay, we'd like you guys to continue this. And that's how the Bouk and Zoobie show started. It's just based on having a conversation with someone I knew and just talking about LIR. And he knew about that I love to talk about sports. And that's how it came together. So we are together over 2 years with the show, and I love doing it, and it's a good way to get your frustrations out too for the week.
Right, right. And I think the other angle that when we first started talking about doing it, my incentive was that I was so disgusted with local sports talk. So
That too.
when, let's face it, back from the Mike and the Mad Dog era, and then when they split was kind of the first big thing that happened negatively to New York sports talk. Then having to listen to Mike on his own, I just felt like he was almost unlistenable. So that kind of hurt that. Then the fan made some more changes, and now they're like a bar stool like radio station where I mean, sports talk is kind of like secondary, and trying to be a comedian is primary. And I hate to say it, they're just not very funny. It's very hard to be funny, John.
Yeah.
And if you watch any sports related show, all this garbage that's on, every show they try to be funny. You can't even get to the NHL pregame stuff where they're constantly trying to make jokes. The same thing with the NBA with those guys, even though now it's going to ESPN, which will probably get worse. Who knows? ESPN is like unlistenable. So that kind of drove me. That and the other thing, John, is getting on the record with our opinions. So this way,
True. True.
right or wrong, they're out there and you can't hide from your own predictions.
It's,
So
it's true.
luckily, since the start of this show, episode 100 to now, from the beginning, we've actually done pretty well on predictions. So hopefully people appreciate our content, and we really do want to thank everybody for checking it out. And also definitely check out the LIR website because they are spinning the tunes, right, John? The other kind of shared, I want to say love because sports is a love, music is a very high like. Matter of fact, I think those are the two favorite things I like to do in my life is go see live sporting events and go see live music.
Yeah.
And that's also something that we shared the LIR, love for the radio, the difference of alternative music, and also taking abuse for liking alternative music because we didn't want to listen to Black Sabbath all the time.
Well, the story I love to tell about that, and I always say to my wife, is Um, Paul and I liked music way before people thought it was mainstream. Like I liked the B-52s, and everyone used to think I used to play Rock Lobster at the beach, and everyone looked at me like I was out of my mind. They said, "What is this nut playing here?" But one thing I will always remember you telling me is you asked me to listen to a group of girls who played their own instruments, wrote their own songs, and you said you have to listen to this group, and it was the Go-Go's. And this was, and I always remember you telling me that, and I always say that to my wife. I said, you know who turned me on to these girls was Paul Zubulake. I
The
always remember that.
Go-Go's. Well, I think they had a documentary about 5 years ago. I did watch it, I have to admit. So, yeah,
I saw that.
yeah, there were a lot of nice, that's when, a lot of female bands were playing. Yeah, I've always liked the different sorts of music, really, to this day. I do like rock and roll. I even watch, now I'm listening to like more country than ever. Actually, my new favorite is this guy, and he's actually become really popular. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but the name Shabuzi. Have you ever heard of
Oh,
Shabuzi before?
yeah.
Oh, I love
Yes.
Shabuzi to go with my other guy that I mentioned a couple of years ago, Kane Brown. And I remember, John, I told you that Kane Brown would be like a male Taylor Swift. So I'm not saying you're following Kane's career, but he has become pretty damn popular. So, because country is now like across,
Yeah, it
it's
is.
across.
It's no longer really country
Right.
if
Yeah,
you
it's
look.
not even remote. It's really rock, pop. I don't even know what you want to describe it. So there's a lot of cross genre music going on. So, yeah, so that's it, John. Love of sports, love of music. And yeah, so I don't
You
know,
know what?
John, maybe we'll keep it up for another 100.
Actually, there is a concert I'm going to see. What is it? 10 days from now, I am going to see Ringo Starr at
Wow.
Radio City, and he's going to be with Toto and
Okay.
Men at Work.
And Men at Work at Toto.
Yeah,
I saw Toto a few years ago. They're actually really good.
yeah,
I saw them
yeah.
alone, yeah. Ah, that's awesome. There you go. They're gonna wheel out old Ringo, though. Oh my
Ringo's
God.
at 84. I was I was
84.
supposed to see him last year, and he got COVID. He had to cancel his concert. So I was lucky enough to get tickets. Of course, same section, but $75 per ticket more this time, 6 months later. But I think this is going to be his final concert because I think he's only doing like 4 or 5 in the United States, and that's it.
Right, right.
Toto and Men at Work, the head singer of Men at Work, are actually touring alone without him in other cities.
Oh, okay,
So
gotcha.
I think he's just coming back to Radio City to make up for missing it 6 months ago.
Oh, there you go. All right. So that should be fun. We're looking forward to hearing about that. So yeah, so that's our little history lesson for our show. As always, glad to hopefully everyone's listening, checking out our content, liking those episodes. We appreciate it. So, John, where do you want to go now? So, it's too early for our other favorite. So, you
Uh,
got to throw some NFL in there, or you got something different?
yeah, I mean, a couple of things happen in the NFL. Uh, your man Huff got traded
Bryce
from
Huff
the
got traded,
Eagles to
right?
the 49ers.
There you go. To reunite with Robert Sala for a few, I think it's a conditional fifth that can be a fourth. He agreed to take less money. Hey, John, it
No,
happens.
no, no, he didn't. No, actually, I thought he was going to agree to take. The Eagles are paying about $9 million of his salary,
Oh,
and the
you're right. You
49ers,
are playing the rest. Yeah, Bryce
yeah,
Huff is not taking less money. The 49ers are taking less money on because the Eagles are
correct.
keeping a lot of that
That's
money.
correct.
It's crazy, John. High profile free agent pickup doesn't really do anything. Really just had a bad year, did not fit in with the defense. The new coordinator didn't like him enough. They had other really good players, but they win the Super Bowl anyway. So that just shows what Howie Roseman and the Eagles have been doing. They're aggressive, John, and you're going to make mistakes. And the one thing is, they move on from their mistakes. So they're
Right.
just moving on. And let's see. I like Bryce Huff. I hope he does well. Yes, that's a good one. What else? What else you got?
I mean, other than the usual jet chatter, Fields saying that he thinks he's gonna do wonderfully this year, and blah blah blah. He's with an old teammate, and I would love to see when do they actually come out with how many the predictions for wins? When does that usually come out?
Well,
July?
I mean, it's there now. I mean, they're 5.5, I believe.
They're still
So
at
it's
five and a half.
I believe so. Yeah.
Wow,
So
wow.
I mean they. I
They
mean, you
should do
gotta
better
hope
than
they
that.
beat that, John. I mean, I would if I had to bet that right now, I would say over. But I mean, my
Yeah.
God, I'd put like
We've been
$50 on
so
it or
wrong.
something.
We've been
Right.
so wrong the past 2 years
But no, this
with
is
the
almost the
Jets.
other way where people, like a lot of people, are down on them. And you know my feeling with the whole situation. I mean, this is a rebuild. So
Yeah.
it's just anybody could describe it any way they want. They want to pretend that it's not. So, I mean, we've talked about the Jets regarding Aaron Glenn falling into the trap with the media. I mean, he's doing fine. Everybody, like you said, the Jets always win the off seasons, right, John? It's
Yeah.
always great. Things are great. Everybody looks great. Woody and Christopher were at that practice today with the GM Muji, and so I mean, the expectations are really low. So maybe they'll surprise us. But as
Mm,
I've said many times, we are going to base our opinion on what we see.
yeah.
And that's what
Yeah.
we're going to do, and we'll be all over it. As always, everybody loves the NFL. Same thing with the crosstown. It's the same story. Let's see. I mean, it's going to be an exciting year, John. I mean, there's a influx of new young talent. It's always
Yeah.
exciting with the
Yeah.
NFL. So I don't want to say I can't wait because that means we're like wishing our summer goes by. But we'll be happy to talk about the NFL. Um, but I thought you were going to bring up Stephon Diggs'
Oh,
follies, which
uh,
is a great news for Jet fans because to see the Patriots who, for some reason, so this is really funny how when a guy has problems with a top team and a top quarterback, and people are wondering like, oh, why do they want to get rid of him? Why? Well, now you know why, right? Because he's now dating with Cardi B, right? A famous hip hop artist, where I guess there was this video of them on some private yacht, throwing around some sort of weird looking stuff in Ziploc bags or something, and a lot of chicanery will be nice going on. So great to see that happen to our beloved buddies up north, the Patriots, who most people think are going to be better than the Jets. So, John, I mean, you got to start the season optimistic. How can you not? I mean, I'm not going to go into this year, being negative, but hey, if it's mid-season and they're looking bad and they got one win and they're 1-7, I'm like, this is going to be all we're going to be talking about is the tank. That's it,
yeah.
John.
Yeah.
The tank. Get the number one pick. If you're that bad, just tank it out, please. You owe it
Well,
to your fans.
well, one team that owes it to their fans, and I don't know what their strategy is here, is the Steelers. What are they doing with Rodgers? You know, we're talking about Aaron Rodgers now, and how Tomlin could even consider. I'm starting to think a lot less of Tomlin if he allows this guy to become a Steeler. I would be shocked. I'm still shocked that they even considering him.
John, he supposedly has there's a personal issue. Somebody in his inner circle's got a medical issue that he's told the Steelers about, and that he wants to get his head clear and get this person back on the road to health. I don't know who it is, uh, but yeah, the mandatory mini camp will be coming up sometime in June. I mean, the OTAs he's missing, it's not great, but they'll survive. But yeah, that like you said, you called it from day one when this came out about being absolutely stunned. You keep on saying it. I'm not disagreeing with you. I mentioned a few months ago that I thought that Rodgers would retire at this point. I'm still kind of thinking that may happen, but yeah, it's definitely retirement or the Steelers. There's no other place unless somebody gets hurt in training camp of a quarterback goes down with a team that doesn't have a good backup. I guess that's the other scenario. It could happen. Say like Brock Purdy, gets hurt immediately. Would Rodgers almost come out of retirement to play for somebody like that? I guess that's a possibility too.
What do you
But
pay him? But then what do you pay a guy like him? I
he's
mean,
already
The
said that
Jet,
John, he said that he would take 10 million from the Steelers. He's already put it out. That's what his
and that's
contract is.
it.
1 year, 10 million.
So
So
meanwhile,
that's what he claims. That's what he
so
claimed.
meanwhile the Jets just paid him what 110 million for 2 years.
I don't know what he gave back some money too. I'm not sure what he actually took home. That's a great question because it was always convoluted, right, with the
Yeah.
restructures and yeah, no, John, the Jets as always take it on the chin. Yeah, it's a fascinating story. I hope he plays, John. I think it's going to just add excitement, and of course that
Yeah.
opening game,
Yeah.
Steelers Jets at MetLife with Aaron Rodgers. Oh my God, that is just come on. I mean, Will
Is he?
McDonald, can you get 3 sacks in that game? So I mean, John, it just, as always, you got to get excited. So, yeah, so though, I mean, there's definitely some off the field stuff. We're not going to get to, there's unsigned players. Definitely Parsons with the Cowboys, Hendrickson with the Bengals.
Yeah.
What's their situation? Could there be some high profile holdouts? Travis Hunter, John, the momentum for him playing two ways continues to grow.
It's amazing.
Uh,
It's
so we'll
amazing.
see if they're going to try to do this. And that's another fascinating story from a typical team that has no interest. So, John, it's just, the NFL is king. The NBA had a really good season. New York had a great season. We haven't even mentioned the NHL. The Rangers have done absolutely nothing. It's way too early. Obviously, a rematch in the Cup Finals. Edmonton, Florida. John, that does not have a lot of interest. Will Canada break the schneid of not winning a cup? I guess it was the Canadians back in the 1979, I believe it or
Wow.
not,
Yeah.
the
It's been a
last time a
long time.
Canadian team won the cup. So, for Canada's sake, and I do like McDavid. He's fascinating to watch, and I don't want Florida to win again. So I'm hoping for Edmonton. Hmm?
Edmonton didn't win in the 80s.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, what am I talking about? I'm sorry. I guess I was thinking of Eastern Canada. You're right.
Yeah.
Edmonton obviously
Yeah.
won in the 80s. I apologize. Right.
Okay.
So that's yeah, my statistic is wrong. Montreal hasn't won the cup since '79.
Right.
The
Right.
Leafs, what we say, '67. You're right, of course. Edmonton won, and maybe even Calgary did win a cup. I apologize. So, yeah. So our hockey gurus out there throwing
all
stuff at
those
the TV.
all those Canadians are probably yelling at you right
Yeah, there
now.
was our Canadian audience. So we're global on Bouk and Zoobie. So, all right, so that's it. So, all the other sports, John, hey, there's only one place to go, folks, and what a start it is. But there's still a ton of drama with the Mets and the Yankees. So, it's time for baseball with Book.
Yeah, the Mets continue to win, continue to win, and have been beating the Dodgers. If if you're able to stay awake, see, I of course I fell asleep. I woke up during this. I think it was the seventh inning, and the Mets were up 2-0. And then, of course, I fell asleep again. I wake up and I see Budo on the mound with the game on the line in the 10th inning. Mets ended up winning, but Mark Vientos, uh, has a hamstring injury. And who did they call up?
Tell me.
Ronnie Mauricio,
Oh, that's the move. They did do it. I'm glad you're bringing that up. That's hot off the presses.
batting
Wow,
over
can't wait to see him
500,
play.
batting over 500 in AAA and hitting home runs. He's a big guy. If you
Yeah,
remember, he's a big guy.
he's tall,
He
yes.
and he if I were the Mets right now, I mean, what I see happening fairly soon is Acuna going back down to the minors or a trade happening because either McNeil goes or Acuna's getting sent down because Mauricio's going to start playing. He can play second base. I mean that he's been playing it. He could also play third base. But yeah, he's a big guy, power. Yeah, I mean, it's too bad he got injured a couple of years. It was a freak injury where his leg just went out on him and he had an ACL torn, but he's back.
And he could
Uh,
DH too, right?
and he could, oh, absolutely. I mean, there's just so much that you could do with this kid. It's, you know, I was hoping that they were going to call him up. So, yeah, they are calling him back. And Blackburn pitches 5 scoreless innings last night. I was saying, okay, this guy has been out almost a year. And which team did they bring him back for? The Dodgers. And I was thinking he's going to get clobbered. He did not. He actually struck out Otani twice. Um, I mean, Otani was 0 for 3 against him. And then I remembered, well, yeah, he was a pitcher with the A's, and Otani was with the Angels, so he must have remembered how to pitch to him if you could pitch to the guy at all. But very impressive. Uh, One guy that I think is another guy that is going to be sent down pretty soon once Montas comes back and Sean Manaea is you'll probably see Max Kranick going to the minors because he's starting to lose his stuff. Let's put it that way. I mean, he's been getting hit a little bit. So I have a feeling you're going to be seeing him sent down too. So those two are my candidates for being sent down when the roster starts getting taken up by more pitchers. And, just I think some moves have to be made here
Well, they're
pretty soon.
starters, right? So they're gonna Montez and Manaea are starters, obviously, and
Yep.
Blackburn is a starter. So that's three
Yes.
starters. So obviously Peterson and Senga are the automatics.
Right.
So is McGill and Canning in big trouble, and Holmes is an automatic too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, Blackburn might end up in the bullpen, right? Because
Yeah.
Montaz and Manaea would be the 4 or 5.
That's correct. That's correct.
So
And
that,
McGill
John,
and
that's
And
pretty good,
McGill and
John.
McGill will probably be in the bullpen too. So I mean
Which he
that's
might be better in the bullpen. He might be better. He throws hard. So that's, I mean, it's really a good problem to have, obviously.
oh
So
they have a
they're
lot
a
of
little
depth.
weak on the hitting side, right? They're playing Jared Young, right? Who's this guy as a DH, right? That's temporary, I guess, because Winker got hurt.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what do you think of him?
Yeah. I mean Jared Young, they always like to get these players from Korea that were hitting so many home runs over there. I mean the guy has a nice swing, but so did Billy McKinney. If you remember Billy McKinney. You remember Billy McKinney?
Kind of. Yeah, he is a
Yeah,
left-handed
yeah.
hitter.
The guy had a beautiful swing, but how many
Right.
teams did he go to? He jumped all over the major leagues. He just got released. But this kid reminds me of Billy McKinney. Great swing, has power. They talking about his power. He did show some power in the game last week, but like you said, it's temporary. I mean, he's another guy who will be sent down
Right.
once
All
we
right.
start getting
So
guys back. But if you think about it, how strong is that bench going to be now? I mean, there's not a weakness except for center field. Again, Tyrone Taylor has been playing a tremendous center field. He's a great, great defensive outfielder. I love watching him play. Still iffy with hitting with him. He's not going to be a power hitter. Occasionally he'll hit a double here and there, but he's not the answer in center field. He's definitely not the. And by the way, I want to correct myself. Last week or 2 weeks ago, I didn't know how to pronounce a teacher's name, a player's name. It's Luis Robert is his name from the White Sox
oh,
that I
okay.
was talking about.
Okay.
And we
So
saw a little bit of him at Citi Field. He's still a young guy, still has power, still plays a great center field, but this batting, 200. So,
right. Well, this bottom line is this roster is going to change going into the playoffs, and it's obviously we can talk about playoffs. This is definitely a playoff team. So yeah, let's get to what some of the big names we haven't even mentioned yet. So Juan Soto, luckily, I guess for him is maybe for because he was going to get torn up in this show because what was he 0 for 14 and just like no power. So what's your view on him? Do you honestly think he's getting out of his slump?
yeah, I mean, I've been thinking that, like I said it a couple of weeks ago. I didn't really view that he was doing badly hitting wise because when he did hit the ball, he hit it pretty hard. Uh, a lot of bad luck. He is hustling now, which is great. I mean, Mendoza definitely spoke to him. He's stealing bases, which is unusual for him. He's actually played a pretty good outfield too. He's made some really nice plays. So I I never really thought that in the past couple of weeks that he was doing really that poorly. It didn't show. Uh, but yeah, he's definitely. I mean, he's getting more confidence now. You're starting to see him hit home runs to the opposite field, which is what he does. So I think you're going to start seeing a lot more production out of him, a lot more. And
Right.
I mean, Lindor is just tearing up the ball. I mean, he has the most home runs on the team now. Uh, Pete was dry there for a couple of weeks with no home runs. He's getting his stroke back. So listen, I think that I'm going to be optimistic here, but this could conceivably be the year that the Mets could win a World Series. Because if the Dodgers continue to have all these injuries with their pitching, which they have barely anyone left now. I mean, it's amazing how many injuries these guys have. I mean, they had one of their top relievers, Evan Phillips, who's getting Tommy John surgery. I mean, what is going on with that staff? I mean, they're going to bring Otani. Otani's going to be start pitching, I think, by July. They're going to
Wow.
need his arm. And then you
Yeah.
had what is it? Dustin May was pitching last night. Guy has great stuff, but he's always getting injured. So I mean, listen, this could be the year for the Mets because we have the depth. We have a lot of starting pitching as long as these guys stay healthy. Diaz looks great except for last night. Um, we got great setup people. I mean, it's aligning. Let's just get our offensive team together a little bit better. I mean, Alvarez actually drove in a run last night,
Yeah.
which was,
The game winner, right?
yeah, he hit. I mean, he hit opposite field, hit the fence. All right, we need to start seeing that from him.
And I think the
But
other big development is the starting pitching finally stretching itself out a little bit and getting guys to throw 7 innings because that's going to be the key in the postseason, as we've talked about ad nauseum, is getting the starters into the seventh inning at
yep,
least. And that is got to be the minimum for these guys going into the end of the year. So if Hefner and Mendoza, let's face it, John, the guy's done a great job,
yes, he
great
has.
hire. The way it's looking, right, that they get it. They're with us, right? They get it. So they're probably, if they're watching our show, they're like, guys, we understand, but we got to stretch them out through the season and then have them peaking at the right time because we don't want to burn them out either. Because let's face it, John, the middle relief, it's gonna wear. So you want to go seven, and then you've got a bunch of different guys
Right.
and DS, right? And that is the formula for winning the World Series. If they
Yeah, I mean,
can do
Brad,
that,
listen, you can't keep using Kranick all the time and Brazaban all the time. Sooner or later, Cinderella or whatever it is, the glass zipper, falls away
well,
here.
not to mention Reed Garrett's another guy. It's almost exactly like last year. Of course, we haven't gone through the end of the year, but last
Yeah,
year he was great the first half, and he was not good the second half.
right.
So that's the fear. That's the weakness on the pitching side. And like you said, on the bat side, yeah, you're right. Center field is the spot. You're right. I think bringing the kid up is a great idea. We're going to find out early. This is a blessing in disguise. This injury with
Yes, it
Vientos,
is.
right? This way, Beatty can play every day at third, and then you can either DH him or play him at second. I think, and then Vientos is coming back, right? So it's not like
Yeah,
you don't want to
eh,
lose Vientos for like months, but you lose him for a couple of weeks, 2, 3 weeks. It might be fine. It might be work out perfect.
and Vien, you know what? And when we were talking about this in the beginning of the year, where everyone's saying, "Oh, if Alonso doesn't sign, we have Vientos," and as always, too much reliance on one player. Look what happened to him. I remember going crazy with that when everyone said, "Oh, Vientos could go to." Listen, he had a good year. Doesn't mean he's going to have a good second year.
Yeah, this is you're trying to win the World Series. So this is what I mentioned, joked earlier about franchises getting close, and you gotta close the deal when you get close
That's right.
because you just don't know what's going to happen. It's the Knicks. It seems like, oh yeah, they're going to challenge for the finals next year, or They got really close. That was their peak, and now they're on a downer.
Yep.
So
Yep.
the same thing works with the Mets. The same thing. Now they definitely have their organization is as solid as it's been in a long time, John. Front office to manager. Everybody's kind of on the same page to ownership. So that's very important. They're all working together. I mean, Stearns is kind of amazing, John, how he gets these guys off the scrap heap. I don't know how.
He does. Yeah.
You got to give the guy credit when it comes to that. So yeah, no, this and I'm just something about Mendoza. He's just everyone. I mean, they're always going to make mistakes, and you're always going to be able to second guess a manager. And it drives me crazy when they lost a couple of games and people getting on Mendoza. It's like a 162 game season.
Right.
You
Right.
manage kind of differently throughout. But knock on wood, and it's funny because everyone's like, "Oh, Alvarez is playing too much." Well, guess what? Terens has played more now, right?
Yep.
He moved Soto finally in the lineup, even though he just moved him from 2 to 3. But at least he recognizes when the team kind of needs a change. And now realizing, like I said, that his starting pitching has to go deeper. They have to. This 5 and 6 inning stuff, it's not gonna cut it. You got to get to 7. So you got to
And
be optimistic. It's really a good feeling.
it's a very good feeling. And the other thing that I think they should stick with, and I think it's a good, is to let Nimmo bat second. It should be Lindor, Nimmo, Soto, Alonso. That's your first four. That's the spot he should be in. He shouldn't be batting fourth. He shouldn't be batting fifth. You don't put him too far down in the lineup. I mean, you do have the depth now that you can do other things. He should be batting second. He's actually, that's a good spot for Nimmo. Nimmo should be there.
All
So
right. Well, so
um,
all positive. Now we'll
that's
next time we talk could be weeks, months, not months, but weeks, due to some vacations and stuff. But we could talk about the Yankees a little bit because
yeah, we could.
I mean Aaron Judge. I mean he's already won the MVP and it's
He's
June 3rd.
amazing. He's amazing. What an amazing. But it just shows again. I'm going to say it again.
Yeah, you
The
said it a lot.
only
Yep,
team that's going to challenge the Yankees are the Tigers. The Tigers actually have the best record in baseball now.
they do. Right, it's led
Yeah,
by their left-handed pitching. Who you
yeah.
mentioned him last year. Scrooble, is that how you
Scooble,
pronounce the guy's
Scooble,
name?
Scooble.
Really? That's how you
Yep,
pronounce it?
Scooble. Yeah, yeah,
Scooble. All right.
yeah.
He's been
And
fantastic.
well,
He's like,
and
yeah,
people forget that AJ Hinch is their manager. He
yeah,
had he had success in Houston.
yeah.
I mean, he's taking that team. I mean, Torkelson is having a bounce back year. I mean, we kept hearing him in trade rumors to the Mets when they weren't going to sign, when they thought they weren't going to sign Alonso. Guy is killing the ball. The other thing is with Baez. I mean, they made such a big deal that Baez had a home run to win a game. Guess what? He came right back down to earth. I mean, still the worst trade I've seen. I mean, Armstrong is having just a tremendous year with the Cubs. Tremendous year. Sickening. The one guy
Yeah,
you don't hear about is what happened to Jared Kalanick.
Kalanick,
What
yeah.
happened to him? He got sent down in the minors. You don't even hear about him. The Braves have just been going
They've been awful,
crazy.
right? That's another, yeah, we should definitely mention that because obviously the Phillies are hanging in with the Mets right on their
Yeah.
tails, but the Braves, John, right? Nowhere to be found.
I mean, they think the answer to their prayers is changing their third base coach because they put Freddie Gonzalez there, who used to be the manager of the Braves before Snitker. So they're putting him as a third base coach because they were upset with the prior guy getting so many guys thrown out at home plate.
There you
I
go.
mean, you talk about bad third base coach this year. The Mets third base coach has been awful. Oh my God, some of the times he sent these guys home.
Who is
Oh,
the Mets third base coach?
I
What's his,
forgot
who is
his
he?
name. It's Scorbo something.
Uh, yes,
But anyway, we'll go back to the Yankees. So the
yes.
Yankees, you know, like I said, if they were not in the American League, I don't think they would make the playoffs in the National League. I don't think they would make it. Their pitching is it's just I, I don't know what to call their pitching. I mean, it's just a slipshod group. Yale is supposed to come back. Rodana's actually having a good year. Schmidt,
David.
yeah, Schmidt is again not bad, but they're just a mishmash of players. I mean, they have some really good young players. Dominguez is shown a lot. Volpe is starting to, show that he's a decent shortstop. But Goldschmidt is, I predicted that he was going to do well. He's doing tremendous in the American League. Um, but that's not a team that is going to win the World Series. I'm sorry to Yankee fans out there. You might go to the World Series. You're not going to win the World Series. There's no way. There's no way. They have to get very, very lucky. They just don't have the pitching. You know how much I value pitching. I just look at their staff and I'm saying to myself, you're in such a weak league. You should win over 100 games easily. I mean,
Well, that's
you
yeah.
look at the entire league. I mean, there's so many atrocious teams in the American League this year.
Well, remember when
Atrocious.
we did the over unders right at the beginning of the year? We were talking. There was nobody in the American League that was even close to 100 wins under over. Right, the
Yeah,
Dodgers were way above.
yeah,
So you're right. I mean, the bottom line is that it goes in cycles. The NL is definitely the better league. Heavy probably favorite to win the World Series, no matter who plays. Hopefully, John, it's our team. And that's what's going to keep us going on the Bouk and Zoobie show throughout the summer because, right, no more winter sports.
yeah,
I guess we'll have the World Cup coming up, John, so we could maybe throw some World Cup in because let's face it, that is going to be a big story. There's a ton, and that's actually, I do enjoy the World Cup. I really do. I'm obviously not a big football fan, European football style, but I do enjoy the World Cup coming to the United States. I think you got to be excited about that. That's actually when I'm coming back to the States, is right. I think a few days after it
yeah,
starts.
yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe the U.S. team will actually maybe win a game or two and get some excitement. I think it would be nice. So, John, as always, another great show. We'd like to thank everybody, right? 100 episodes in.
100
And,
episodes.
for all those athletes out there, there's who we talk about on a regular basis. Maybe we'll go back one day and it's like, who do we talk about the most? I mean, Aaron Rodgers would probably win right now.
For
So
the
we'll
past year.
Right. So in the past, the 100 episodes, who did we talk about the most? It's probably got to be him. If you want to go back to the old Spotify episodes, go back, check out some of the stuff. We got the emergency broadcast, John, the Aaron Rodgers, which is still something. I think it's a classic episode that we talk about the trade when it happened, and we were on that one. But anyway, who do you got to thank?
Again, thank you to our producer, Zach Zubulake. He's produced all of our YouTube episodes, so we really have to thank him. He's part of our team. And to our loyal listeners and viewers, again, keep the feedback coming, the comments coming. We read them. Also, thanks to our community partners, Ronald McDonald House, Kids in Seats, and the Jackie Robinson Foundation. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.